Have you ever felt the presence of a figure watching you while you slept? Hundreds have seen this entity, but why? And why does this handsome specter haunt people in their beds? Today we test the believability of the Flannel Man.
Welcome to Believing the Bizarre,
Where we dive into the unknown and the unusual.
and tell you whether or not we find it believable.
Listen, before we judge immediately, this is a phenomenon.
This episode topic?
The Flannel Man.
I've seen him.
Who? What?
I've seen him.
No, you're not.
Listen, you might not believe this, all right? Sometimes, when you're cooking, right?
Yeah.
When you're cooking and you're in your kitchen, whether it's you're by yourself, you're cooking for a family event. My wife can attest to this, actually. I'm not the cleanest cook, right? Sometimes I'll make a mess.
Sure.
So what you got to do is you got to grab that bounty, the bounty paper towel.
That
that's
is actually not the Flannel Man.
He's handsome though.
I thought that handsome. But this is a topic I think can be easy to mock, but also it can be creepy.
So it's kind of like in Fresno Nightcrawler territory.
Yeah.
Where it's
exactly.
like silly, maybe surface level. Like it's kind of like maybe how deep you dive into it. And like you just, there's these things that are white and walk around and there's two legs. You're like,
yeah.
That sounds dumb. But then you imagine
it's
nighttime, it's 2 a.m, you hear a noise outside, you're alone, you look out your window, you don't see anything at first, and then you just see these things walking across your yard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You put the realness into it.
This is just an upper body with a flannel shirt from Old Navy. Size up.
What does size up mean? You said that earlier. What does that mean?
Size. Well, if a company or a clothing line assumes that it's normally when it's gender neutral. It says sometimes they'll be like, maybe you should order a size bigger than what you would normally wear.
Oh, okay.
Or like if you wear mediums for this particular garment of clothing,
you size up.
Get a large just because you know.
Man. You ready to just jump? Do you want to just jump into this?
Really quick, actually. I want to give a special shout out to my friends Scott and Nate. And I want to send my condolences to Scott because his father just recently passed away.
Oh.
And he's a good man. And I can only imagine what he's going through. So, Scott, thinking of you.
All right. So let's just dive into this world where things can be a little bit creepier than just what they seem.
Lumberjack world. The forest.
Axe. Let's dig a little bit deeper.
Okay.
Digging deeper. Okay. So I got a couple sources. One is teaandrosemary.com.
Sounds like you're going to get a recipe from there.
It does sound like a really nice...
I don't like rosemary, though.
You know? That's great on like a lamb. Oh, wait. Okay, what about rosemary and potatoes?
You just put it right on a lamb. It's like you're marinating it like while it's alive. Just start rubbing in its arm. Just soak it in.
We also have Reddit.
Yep.
We have Birds Magazine.
Birds.
Yep. And Daily Mail.
I like plaid. Do you like plaid?
It's a good pattern. Yeah.
Plaid always makes... I got really into the vest life, like the thick vest life, watching or playing Until Dawn.
Yeah.
And it's like, looks so cold outside. And you just got these guys in plaid long sleeve shirts and those like
vests.
Puffer vests.
Yeah.
And I was like so impressionable by that. I was like, I need to get one. And then I got a blue one. I got a gray one.
Are they warm?
You've seen me. I wore them for a long time.
Oh,
It was one of our Halloween episodes. It was our second one.
Oh, yeah?
What was our second one?
Frogman.
Yeah, in our Frogman one, I got one on. But I like them a lot. They don't keep you as warm as I think the guys in Until Dawn.
Oh, yeah.
It was probably also the adrenaline rush of a killer.
Probably that.
3 killers. Well, 2, technically.
So about the Flannel Man. He is an entity that sneaks into your room at night. A man dressed in traditional logging attire, a blood red and deep black flannel. Some have seen his face, and some see blackness. Some say he's just a man, and some say he is more than that. He is not known to any specific location, but some say his starting was in Minnesota. He comes to any home and has been seen by hundreds. This is a known phenomenon. So I have a couple questions. Is he like the Hat Man? Is he similar? Does he harbor bad intentions? Is this many ghosts being attributed to one entity, or is this a creature that is like a fae or a small folk?
Are we already in the discussion?
No, it's just these are ideas that I wanted to present before we actually talk about like encounters. We're going to talk about what this might actually be.
It's like when you level up to a certain level, like Hat Man, it's like you get to have one garment you're known by. And it's like Hat Man probably got first dibs because it's a silhouette. Like, it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be a silhouette and someone know you're wearing plaid.
No, you can't.
It can have the appearance of like a button-up shirt, but it's thicker. And you might assume it's plaid.
Mm-hmm.
But, we're going to have a pant man here shortly.
A pant man? Yeah, it's just...
The corduroy man.
The high shorts man. So there's high shorts. You ever see that clip from Reno 911?
I've seen Reno 911, so it's like the really, really short shorts that they wear.
No, it's just, I'm going to pull it up. I was talking about this.
Oh, I've had some boots on layaway here at Zapateria Arena. For Western fashions here in Reno, you really can't beat.
I can hear it. I'm not familiar.
Just want to make sure you heard it.
I like how you have a video, but you're not showing it to me.
It's not that important.
It's go time.
Oh, I have seen it.
Genuine.
It's crazy how you can hear a video and not know it, but then if you get the visual,
as soon as you see it, you know it.
Wait,
yeah,
what?
I'm just goofing. That's how video works.
He's just new boot goofing.
Oh.
Now, you might, if it was a shadow figure, you might just attribute it to like a normal cowboy boot guy, but then when he walks into the light and you see that,
you know who it is.
Then you know.
New boot goofing. Anywho, what were you saying?
I feel like if this episode was sponsored by the show Kinky Boots, then that would be a good plug.
Kinky Boots, wasn't that a play? There's a play.
Zach Atkins.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, I knew that. Okay, so let's actually talk about what the Flannel Man is said to do, right? So it's this entity that appears next to a bedside, and he's the strangest thing about the Flannel Man to me is that he doesn't give off this presence of malice. It's more just neutrality. And it's been attributed all over the country, I think different parts of the world as well. So it's kind of like the Hat Man in that sense. Like he's seen by hundreds.
Hundreds doesn't seem to carry the weight that it might sound like.
I don't want to put thousands on it.
Yeah.
I'm lowballing.
Okay. $1, Bob. I understand. Well, yeah.
By millions.
Well, I mean, anything seen by 100 people is worth talking about on this podcast. He's just leaning over you. Hi there, Hood. Are you sleeping there?
Oh, well, it's just strange to me. When
you'd be afraid of the Flannel Man? If you live in a log cabin. I feel like those are the people he's going to start chopping your house down.
If you're a young tree just growing out of the ground, this is like the stuff your mama tree tells you.
Don't wander off from the garden.
That's right.
Otherwise, the Flannel Man's going to come get you.
So I want to start with one theory about the Flannel Man, which I think...
Where does the handsome part come into play? Because you said sometimes he's... Okay, we already described him, though.
Yeah, some people see his face, some people don't. And the people that do see his face...
are like, damn.
They're like, oh my God.
You can stay.
Look at those eyes. They sparkle?
Does he have a beard?
Depends on who sees him, honestly.
If this was the Pacific Northwest, this could tie into the hide behind. Because what if the logger was one of the people that was got by the hide behind, and now he's just wandering around?
If it was only the Northwest, I could see that. But this is everywhere.
Yeah. Well, 100. It's 100 people spread out across the world.
I didn't say seen by only 100 people. Imagine just 100 people came together and reported the.
Well, that's better than one person seeing it 100 times.
It's true. So I think, admittedly, this is the least likely. But what if there's a fae element to this man?
I was going to say there has to be.
Okay. So I've got 3 points. Let me read this a little bit.
Did you post this on Reddit?
No, I should. So the fae have a special relationship with people, and it's special with humans. We don't worship the fae, but they do want our attention. And respect also goes a long way with the fae. They want your attention and respect, But don't get that wrong. Don't get that twisted. They don't need us to exist. Now, Fae aren't evil or good. They are neutral. This is one reason why I think the Flannel Man may have roots in the Fae. And no one is ever really terrified of seeing him. Like I told you before, he merely grabs attention and makes you notice him. He doesn't look for gifts like some Fae do, but people that see him tend to give him the undivided attention he wants.
As most ghosts receive.
Now, my second point, he has roots in Minnesota. That's where he's said to be from. A place where the Fae, I think, are strong due to the Norwegian influence in the area. My own theory, the small folk come from Norwegians that have come to this area, the Minnesota area. They followed immigrants to the area because it was a more rural area and it gave them a place to live, but also had cultural relevance, and they knew that they would be revered by the immigrants that moved there. And my last point, some say that this Flannel Man is handsome. This handsomeness is a trait also shared by the Fae, i.e. Legolas.
Orlando Bloom.
Go ahead.
All right, so two thoughts. One of them has nothing to do with what you just said.
Okay.
Actually, neither of them have anything to do with what you just said.
Awesome, cool.
First one.
Good to know you're here with me.
Because you brought up the Norwegian factor in Minnesota and the Vikings, I now am and will forever picture the Flannel Man as Kirk Cousins. Second, I was thinking about Faye because I'm like, how could this be like almost an urban legend and tie it into him being a flannel wearing logger and like some of the Fae elements? Imagine if this was part of the urban legend. All right.
Sure. Okay.
So he only appears, and this is not true. This is just the way I would spin it if I was on Reddit, because I'm sure that was written by MotherChucker_45 on Reddit. So he only shows up at remote cabins in winter.
Oh, okay.
And for some unknown reason, when there's no one else around and it's just people in this cabin, there's no heat. The heat automatically goes out. There's no fire. And this man almost immediately, even though it's in the middle of nowhere, knocks on your door and he offers you freshly cut wood so you can burn it and heat. So it's that offering, right? Like the Fae, it's like, take this from me. Mm-hmm. And then what do you owe them when you take the wood?
I don't know.
That's not bad. I don't know. I'm not finishing it. I'm going to leave it open-ended.
Okay.
Or I'll create 3 different variations that are all different levels of ridiculousness.
That's an interesting scenario. I like that a lot. See, you know what?
That was what Hollywood would do with it.
You know what's happening? I think you're slowly giving in to the idea of the Fae.
I'm just playing around with it. And you know who you would cast as the Flannel Man?
Who?
Well, actually, who would you cast? I know who I would cast.
Ryan Reynolds.
I was thinking Chris Evans, but I have no problem with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. Okay. Now, is the Flannel Man a ghost or another entity? Is he a man or more? Is he a malicious spirit?
He's not malicious, right? He's neutral?
Right. We think he's neutral.
And he doesn't do anything. He just kind of looks at you while you're sleeping.
I do have one story that is not in that same realm. So I think it's going to be between us at the end to decide what we think. Like if this is truly neutral or if this is like a camouflage neutral. Like he's there and it seems not to be menacing, but there's something else going on.
Mm.
Now, the first entity that made me think of something similar to this is the Hat Man. You can see why, though, right?
Entity, a particular clothing item that stands out.
It's also...
Although Hat Man is definitely tied to, like, negative emotions, people feeling
Yeah, whenever you
scared.
see the Hat Man, you are typically, I'm going to say under the impression, but you feel the negative energy coming from him. Now, it's not the same thing with the Flannel Man, though. Many people do think that this entity, though, is one that travels around to different people, and they say it gives off similar energy to what's also being reported, and believed that it's some kind of spirit. Maybe it's more of a neutral spirit, but maybe it's kind of like a harbinger, like a banshee. So maybe it's some kind of prediction of bad omen.
Does that seem to be the case with some of the encounters?
Not what I've read. No, but also I've read that may be part of the Flannel Man. That might just be coincidence or people putting that on him. But also, why else would he be there, though? So that's the other question. Like, why? What is he getting out of this?
This is what we do at the end of every episode. But it's always going to be humans, because we're humans. No matter what anyone might tell you, we're not lizard people here. It's us putting our like humanistic mindset on a situation, right? Or like what we like, how people humanize animals to a certain degree. Mm-hmm. And like we get it with dogs and cats and things like that. But it's like when an animal might kill for food or the way animals behave, like we try and put like our values, like our system on them.
Right. Like lions are evil because they kill, but they're not. They're just trying to eat.
Even how like chimpanzees, like, how they behave with their own and like fighting and things like that. And it's just like we want to find out the reason why a ghost wearing flannel is there. But there might not be a concise, succinct answer that we'd be like, oh, makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. We might not be able to draw that conclusion. That might be something that is answered in the Feywild. Anyway, my next question, is it one spirit or is this many spirits that people are confusing to be one spirit?
Flannel men.
Flannel men. Now, what are the odds that people are actually reporting the exact same spirit? Personally, I think it's kind of low. I think they are not reporting the exact same spirit. It's different spirits wearing a similar article of clothing. Now, it stands out because it is this bright, bold pattern. That's kind of the point of flannel, I think. And it's popular. It's a notable design.
It's like, rather than hunting, it's like, you got to make sure we're flannel so another logger does not mistake you as a tree. Got to be very careful out here.
It's also a design that took off with loggers in American kind of traditional other places. And it's a popular thing.
It's amazing to me. I'm just stuck on this hundreds thing. I'm sorry. It probably is way more. But it's kind of like, I'm so amazed and happy that these people that see the flannel man have found each other. You know what I mean? Imagine, and another thing that is not relevant at all, but like Family Feud, right? Where they're like, we surveyed 100 people. And it's like, what do you not want to wake up and see when you wake up in the middle of the night and someone's like, a ghost? And they're like, nope, 0 people said that. All 100 of them said
the flannel
man.
Steve Harvey's face going. So people describe this face of the flannel man as being different. So that's a big red flag for me personally. And if they don't describe his face, they say it's in shadows or darkness. Now, I think that's a way for the spirit to preserve some of its energy, because if it presents itself as faceless, it means it doesn't have to completely drain itself. So it's not costing as much for the spirit to present itself as an entity.
Even ghosts have social energy.
Yeah.
They got to recharge.
And so
could that be based on perception though?
Yeah, absolutely too. That could be part of it as well.
Like one thing might appear different to multiple different people, even if it is the same thing.
That is an argument, in the because you see an accident, right? You report one thing. The person next to you sees the same accident and they report something completely different. It's all about perception. So maybe you're right. Maybe it is the same thing, just perceived differently.
I guess it would depend how much of a variety in description people are having.
Yeah, that's fair. And they vary, but not wildly. Like they're all the same gender. They're all fairly similar. It's a handsome man. But those are my ideas about what the flannel man actually is. So kind of like theories first. Is there any of those theories that you find the most believable so far without hearing the experiences?
So the theories were Fae.
Yeah.
Or an entity like a Hat Man.
Entity like a Hat Man, or also maybe multiple spirits?
Multiple spirits.
Or just one ghost.
Is this worldwide, or is this USA-wide, or is this regional?
I haven't found cases from other parts of the world.
Okay.
USA-wide, at least. Now, do you want to hold and wait till we hear the experiences to give an idea? Then we can just go into the discussion if you want.
Yeah, I think I need to hear how similar the actual encounters are, because, plaid is not the most common clothing, but, in the history of the United States, how many people do you think, if you want to buy into the idea that maybe a ghost is wearing what it died in, how many people do you think have passed away wearing plaid?
I'd say probably a good amount. Maybe hundreds.
It comes down to characteristics, right? Like the Hat Man and the menacing feeling you get from it, and the very like the iconic silhouette. Even that, like, I mean, like, people might see it in a fedora, and then somebody else might see it with like a bowler hat and attribute it to the same entity, when really it could just be a different shadow figure.
Yeah.
But the Hat Man in itself has that notoriety. I want to hear some encounters with this to be like, does it have that one thing? Like almost like a serial killer, right? Like at the tell. Like, oh, this is this guy. We have a serial killer because this is his tell. This is his giveaway. You know, he leaves the lit cigarette, you know, and like does the Flannel Man have that one detail across the board that makes you think it is the same entity?
Okay.
That's what I want to know.
Well, with that, let's get to the experiences. So his first experience is from the Daily Mail, quoting Reddit.
Inception.
So, it's not just us. So, quote, one of the most chilling accounts came from a user who recounted a story from her husband's high school days. While camping with a friend in their aunt and uncle's garden, they had been gone for a short walk around the pond to relieve himself in the middle of the night. As her husband was doing his business, he looked up and saw a man walking around the edge of the pond towards him, she wrote. She clearly saw this man who was walking with his head down, and he described him as wearing a red flannel shirt, jeans, and work boots. Despite calling out and asked what this man was doing, he received no reply from the mysterious figure who seemed to disappear after walking past. Most chilling was the fact that after describing what he saw to his friends, aunt, and uncle afterwards, the aunt burst into tears. She had been seeing the same guy in the house, sometimes standing at the foot of her bed, and her husband did not believe her. The user continued, he had been accusing her of insanity, and apparently they were at the brink of divorce from this issue. She was relieved that someone had been able to validate what she had been experiencing. End quote. That might have been in England, actually.
The garden?
Yeah.
People have gardens.
I mean, I'm just saying, you don't call it the garden.
My parents have a garden.
Yeah, but you call the backyard the garden.
There's no lumberjack back there.
Okay.
Get out the rotor till lumberjack. That is got to be that, like, because you know deep down, she's probably trying to be like, maybe I am making it up. Maybe it's not real. Her husband's not, you know, her husband's saying it's not real. But then when you have someone else validate what you're seeing, and it makes it 100%
the exact same
real
thing too.
He was just walking around the pond. He's like, when are you guys going to bed? I'm trying to do my thing.
I want to go spy my girl.
Are they divorced yet? Trying to slide in there.
Yeah, it's interesting. All right, so the next one. This is actually from a games discussion board.
What game?
I don't know. Some game company like FQ or something. Quote, I'm 18 years old now, and for the past few months, I had this man appear in my bedroom. I don't know exactly what he is. I heard from some people that this man might be my spirit guide due to the fact that whenever I see him, I don't feel afraid. I had this experience a few weeks ago, which made me really start to wonder who he was. I was lying in my bed, and I had just woken up. It was probably around 9 a.m. I rolled over onto my back and noticed something weird. There's this gap between my dresser and bookcase where we used to have a small coffee table, but now that is gone. I saw a young man sitting in this gap. His age, my guess, would probably be in his mid to late 20s. He had medium length, shaggy brown hair and was wearing a flannel shirt. He had his legs stretched out before him and leaning forward onto his knees. He was staring forward in the direction of my bookcase. I did the classic thing of opening and closing my eyes a few times to make sure I wasn't imagining things, but I did this and he didn't disappear. I remember not feeling afraid at all, and I am the kind of person who is terrified of the idea of ghosts. I felt completely relaxed, and after a few minutes, he was gone. End quote.
Imagine having a Kurt Cobain ghost.
Yeah. Monkey wrench. Or a heart-shaped box.
Yeah, Monkey Wrench is Foo Fighters, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all that grunge. And so many of those bands came out of the Pacific Northwest. I know that's not necessarily where Flannel Man is, but you get those Pearl Jams and Nirvanas.
Mm-hmm. To me, that's a really strange story. Why wouldn't it bother him at all?
Well, it's interesting that he thought of it as like a guide, right? Is that what he said, a guide?
He said people said it was maybe a spirit guide.
Yeah. Very drastically different responses from this story to the last story. But then again, the first story doesn't inherently say that he's doing anything harmful. That just happens to be her reaction.
He's just there. She's just upset because
no
one believes her.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's the human approach. If people believed her, it'd probably be all fine.
Well,
you need support.
Well, if her husband believed her, they wouldn't be going toward divorce. So that's not scary. It's just upset because no one believed her. And this one is just neutral. Not scared, just nothing.
Well, I'm glad they're not scared. I mean, if that's the best ghost encounter you can have. I wasn't picturing him as like a young person like that.
Mm-hmm. That's a different idea. All right. So I've got a couple more stories for us. This one is also from Reddit. You ready? Quote, the man in the red plaid shirt. There's a ghost dude that I call the man in the red plaid shirt. I've seen him since I was little. According to my parents, I've always described him the same way. He has black hair that's parted to the side. A small curl falls in his face, and he leaves the top 2 buttons unbuttoned and rolls the sleeves. He has dark jeans and work boots. He's maybe 5'10" and slim to a medium build. Every time I see him, he's leaning with one arm up against a tree and one crossed over the other. I feel like I know him, but I don't. I've never seen him in my family photos, and no one else recognized the description I give. My mom says that I've seen him since I was about 2, and each time I see him, it's the exact same description no matter where or when. Recently, my niece saw him. I'm trying to sort out who, what, why, end quote.
Maybe that is that greaser, like that little curly Q in the front.
Maybe.
Sounds like a 50s
description.
Ghost.
Yeah.
I like ghost dude. Mom, we got a ghost dude.
Yeah, it was funny.
I like that.
You can tell he's younger.
Again, no negative feelings, because he almost thought it was familial.
Yeah.
Like an ancestor or something.
Yeah.
Also, different facial.
Different described, yeah.
Yeah, does not look the same as from the previous story.
Yeah, you could say that. He's also a white dude, so I mean, like...
We're all the same.
You know what I mean, though? It is described differently.
Like his brown hair
is different.
Black hair. But, I mean, we got 5'10", medium build. We got a good description here.
Yeah.
Ghost dude is fleshed out.
Ghost dude is coming together. All right, next story. Quote, years late, but I saw it in the 70s, standing in my bedroom doorway, about 2 feet from the head of my bed. It scared the crap out of me. I hid under the covers for minutes and peeked out only to find he was still there. I did this several times before I decided to jump out of the bed and then run around and through him full speed down the hall to my parents. He was gone when my dad brought me back. He said that he prayed to God that he would send an angel to protect us in our sleep. So I let that go for about 25 years. And then my daughter, sleeping in my bed, wakes up my wife and myself saying that there's a man standing in the bedroom doorway. He was wearing flannel, red and black, and smiling at her. I've never told her about my experience. Then I found out my dad has seen it within the last few years also. I really don't get it. I tend to think your brain plays tricks on you, but to see a lumberjack or what some call a flannel man is crazy. End quote. Again, it's not scary, but it's there.
Which, the paranormal and horror kind of go hand in hand, but paranormal does not have to be scary. It's just something unusual.
That's true.
And if it's a ghost lumberjack, it's unusual.
That's true. This last story, if I remember correctly, this is not along the same lines as the rest. Like, it's still a flannel man, but it's a little bit different. Are you ready for it? Quote, possible ghost in my house. Flannel man? ? Okay. During Christmas, my mom said something kept knocking at her bedroom door in my house. The first knock woke her up. The second, she looked and saw someone in a red flannel shirt swaying outside the door through a now cracked door. No one owns a flannel red shirt in my house. She said, Brad, my husband, are you f***ing with me? And no answers. She told me she knows not to invite things in, so she just ignored it. Shortly before that, maybe a month or so ago, my 2-year-old daughter saw something outside. She looked at me, then looked into the void, and back at me, and booked it into the house, and tried to close the door on me, trying to get away from something. Seriously, what could she have seen? When I rushed in with her, I felt this tense unease in my back, all of a sudden, all the way upstairs, all the way to her room. I ended up turning around and yelling, "Get out of my house!" Because I believe small children can see them better than adults. Since these two occurrences, I've seen a short, hunched shadow walk up my stairs. I hear footsteps walking to the top of the stairs, as if they're going to descend, but don't. I have someone stand behind me thinking it was my 6'3" kid, and I turned around and I said, "Get out from behind me," but no one was there. My husband makes fun of me. I'm not scared of anything. I think it's a male. I recently learned my daughter wants to know what monsters are, and she gets freaked out if you mention them. So I've been teaching her to yell, "Get out, monster." It's weird because sometimes she looks behind me or across the room and stares and maybe tenses up. I let's see what's there, but nothing is. And she wants a hug or to get out of that room. Should I buy some sage or burn it around the house, or is that BS people do? I was thinking about setting up a small camera to see if I can catch whatever it is. End quote.
Definitely different in terms of vibe.
Yeah, it is.
I love that mom. She's like, "I do all the damn laundry around here, and I know good and well none of y'all own any red plaid shirts."
Yeah.
You right, mama.
Yeah. So those are some encounters from the Flannel Man. Most of them follow on that same good intention, but that last one is a little bit different. Let's talk more about this in the discussion. This is where I'd like to stop the episode and thank everyone who has joined our Patreon. We have Jet, Sue, Grace, and Gillian. Thank you so much for joining our Patreon. It means, I'd say, a whole lot to me and Tyler.
A whole lot.
That's like
when you learn your fractions and they say what a whole is. You double that.
You double it.
Not square root. The little 2.
That's right. You multiply by whatever.
2.
Because there's 2 of us.
That's true.
That's very nice. Okay. We do appreciate a whole lot, though, because without people like you, we would not be able to do this. And you join our Patreon. So with that, there is some bonus content that you get there. And Tyler, if you'd be so kind, can you explain one of the many things from Patreon to them that they're going to be entitled to?
Sure.
Problem.
Depending on what tier you're in, of course.
Yes.
So there's one piece of Patreon content, which I believe we actually posted before, just in general. It was the Friday the 13th kills.
Oh,
but
yeah.
This segment is called BTB Reacts To. And we are definitely open to suggestions. If there's like video clips, please don't send us like snuff films or things like that.
Please don't.
No interest in watching that. But like little horror, like we've been finding a lot of short like horror films, like those 5-6 minute indie horror films.
Yeah.
And we watch it, we tape our reaction, we talk through it, and it's just a lot of fun. It's another way to watch little horror content, which I love so much. Mm-hmm. But me as like, even though I'm a part of it, like I feel like I get the same enjoyment being like almost as a viewer, because I love watching Charlie's reactions to horror, because you get so animated about it.
Yeah, I have a very.
And you hate scary movies.
I don't like them. I have a reactive face.
I love it because it's because you have an imagination.
Yeah.
I think the people that get the most, and there might be some people that are offended by this, and I apologize, but I think the people that get the most afraid during horror movies have the greatest imaginations. So I think it's because you are able to put yourself in there, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. I guess you could say that. What an interesting way to get to a compliment.
It's because there's all these people in like Facebook groups and stuff that piss me off. Like that movie wasn't even scary. It's like, well,
I've never felt anything.
Sorry, you don't have an imagination. I'm sorry, I can put myself there. It's funny because you cover your eyes and I cover my ears.
Yeah, I don't like the visuals.
Regardless, that is one of our bonus segments that we do. It's called BTB Reacts To. We're open to suggestions, but she's short little clips, these little 5, 6, 7 minute horror independent videos, or like we watched that terrible death sequence in Terrifier 2. And if you've seen the movie, you know which one I'm talking about.
Just made me sad.
Yeah, it was over the top. It was like a whole lot of violence there.
They've triple jumped the shark.
But Charlie, what Patreon content would you like to highlight during this break for the discussion?
So we added not too long ago a 4th tier to our Patreon. The not tier.
Like the not deer.
And it's our highest tier. And there are some things in the not tier that you can only get for being part of the not tier. And one of those things is the enamel pin, which is exclusive So 2023. It's a beautiful pin. Great detail, which is fantastic. And also, you also have, after 3 months, you have the Not Deer hoodie.
Are you doing two things in this segment?
I guess so.
I'm okay with it.
The pin is just so small.
But let me just say this real quick, though. The hoodie's going to be there forever. As long as we have Patreon, the hoodie will be there.
That's true.
The pin is gone December. We will move on to a new pin, a new design for the year 2024.
Yeah.
So you have until the end of December to get this current 2023 enamel pin. And if you want to be a little cheater, if you want to work the system, find a loophole, technically you only have to be not to remember for 1 month and you earn the pin. So,
but the hoodie, the colors on the hoodie, I love them. It's like pink and teal, and it was designed by Kimmy from the Alluring podcast. She did an amazing design, amazing job.
Pop City.
It's very cool. And there are a couple of people, Kanpahula and Brittany, they edited
Upgrade. It's like when you go to the airport and you don't want to be sitting in economy and you're like, I have a little extra money, or maybe let's just do it. And you look on your app because you have the app, and you see that there's like an open, not first class because that's, what business is it? Go economy or business?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, can I upgrade?
And they did.
They did.
And we appreciate that a lot. It's incredible that they did it. They're definitely going to get the pin.
We're like the stewards that come and it's like, you bring the hoodie, I bring the pin.
Yeah, exactly.
But you got to wait 3 months for the hoodie. So it's a long flight. It's a long flight.
We'll be there.
But the pin, coming right there.
Yeah.
As long as we put the right amount of stamps on the envelope, Jesus Christ.
I just want to be able to be aware of our I'm sure they are at this point, but we're really proud of this tier.
Let me put this out there too. And it's funny because we really do enjoy Patreon. And not so much, like, it's not about the platform, it's about the people and the content.
Yeah.
But we have another segment called Beyond the Bizarre,
yes,
where we talk about other things that are happening in our lives. I go in on the mailing system and I go in on Patreon and their customer support.
Yeah, this is a long Beyond the Bizarre.
We used to have a segment in a different podcast called Had It Up to Here. And I had it up to here with the mailing system. I don't go into too many angry rants.
To be fair, it's pretty well deserved.
Yes. Well, I don't give rants to things undeservedly.
No, that's true.
Unless of the time.
Steelers or whatever.
Yeah. I have enough emotional intelligence to not get upset about that stuff.
Anyway, let's get back to the episode. So the Flannel Man, he's a man that wears flannel. Do you give any idea to the idea that this is a fey creature?
Do I give an idea to the idea?
Do you give it any credence? Now, just think about the things I said about it.
No, I don't think it's fey.
God damn it.
You don't even think it's fey.
No shot at all?
You don't think it's fey.
I think it could be.
I don't believe that. I go unbelievable.
Okay. What about one spirit? One entity, not necessarily a ghost, one spirit.
All right, now we're talking. Here is my issue. Here's what I was looking for. I was looking for two things. Mm-hmm. I was either looking for, well, I guess it's the same category. I was looking for a through line.
Yeah.
What would make every single one of these encounters have something where you're like, okay, there's a chance this could be the same entity. And the first story, I was like, oh, it's outside. But then, the wife is like, I see him by the bed. And pretty much every story, except for maybe the last one, but the other ones, a lot of them dealt with the bedroom, seeing something by the bed, which could just be coincidental.
It's also where you're most vulnerable, where you're closest to the veil, perhaps.
If for the folks that sleep, yeah. Unlike
Tyler is running on like 2.5 hours right now.
Yeah. So here's the through line. I think this is actually, for me, this is more of something. Because I was also thinking one entity versus multiple entities.
Yeah.
And what is making me say it's not multiple entities? I think that's the most plausible thing if we were trying to put rationality on the paranormal.
For sure, yeah.
Which isn't easy to always do. But if I were to believe every single one of these Reddit stories were not a work of creative fiction and were real, it would be easier to believe that they were multiple entities. But here's something that I find very interesting and makes it a little difficult to do that. Why is it always red? That is very, very interesting to me because there are many, unless it's like in the 1800s, in the early 1900s, maybe that was the only style and that is the most classic Like, I think when most people hear plaid shirt, they do think like the red. But, I mean, there are so many different other color plaid shirts that you can buy. And I could be like I said, that could be a very new thing. Like maybe 100 years ago, traditionally plaid was just red. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know the history on plaid. Great design. Argyle is great too, but I don't know the history. But I think it lends itself to the idea that it could be the same entity because it's always a red shirt. But at the same time, some people are afraid of it. Some people say it looks like this. Some people say it has black hair. Some people say it has the brown hair. It really could just be that plaid has been around. I would love to know that actually, like, I don't love history. The history on plaid would be interesting here. To wonder, like, was red the most common? You know what I mean? Like, how long has plaid been popular? 100 years ago, was it a popular design? Was red the most commonly found? And it's like people that, died, like, I'm not saying lumberjack is the hardest job. It's, harder than working a 9 to 5. And, for the people that were able to escape the hide behind, like how common was it for someone to die or not that I already said this, that, you don't have to, the idea that ghosts are wearing what they died in, I guess it doesn't really matter, but like, could it just be that there's a bunch of ghosts because they wore plaid back then, that their spirits that you see are wearing plaid?
I think that's another option for sure. Can offer you this though. Like, what if this entity, right? And it can shift, it can change to match what people see, like want to see.
The perception thing?
Yeah. What if it doesn't have to stay stagnant? Like, what if it's matching what would comfort somebody?
It's just weird to me that the only qualifier for that entity would be a plaid shirt, and why plaid? It makes... I'm trying to rationalize and make sense of something that...
What if that red is some kind of... So, like, I'm thinking like M. Night Shyamalan, right? He uses red in The Sixth Sense.
Just like McDonald's.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. What if it's some kind of, like, signal? I'm truly just...
Well, okay, so not only should we get into the history of plaid, let's also break down the meaning behind the color red and how it's manipulated to evoke certain reactions out of people.
It is.
I think we have a whole other hour left of this episode.
I don't know, man.
What do you think? Do you think it's one entity, or do you think it's multiple, or do you actually believe it's Fae?
I 10% believe it could be Fae.
That would probably be an unbelievable. Like that's skeptical then.
Okay. I'm 10% Fae. Like,
we're going back to fractions here.
Yeah, really, I am. Like 70% think it's multiple spirits, and the rest think maybe it's this one entity. Yeah, I really do think the odds of just people reporting seeing entities in red plaid, I think people have good associations with red plaid. Maybe it's family members, maybe it's...
Feels like Christmas a little.
Yeah.
Holidays.
And I think that's why, one, it's neutral feelings, and two, it's comforting. And
most of the time, they're not doing anything. They're just there. Like the last story feels like a haunting with like the footsteps and things like that. But otherwise, the other ones are just kind of like there. I feel like that's also the case for a lot of ghosts as well. I think a lot of them are just kind of there. Yeah. It's interesting that like this really just feels like a bunch of people have this shared, I guess it is like Hatman in this regard, where there's just a bunch of people that have this shared experience. It's not like there's that historical encounter that grounds the story where like the characteristics are built out of it, and then that seeps to like Reddit and other places and other encounters. This doesn't have that. This is just a bunch of people that have come together to share the shared experience. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I agree. So let's rank this on whatever you think is the most believable. Do you think this is... Let's do this. Do you think this is one entity? Do you think it's believable, unbelievable, skeptical, unbelievable? I go believable that I just found my Halloween costume. It's just a plaid shirt and a George Clooney mask. It's, yeah, because you're handsome. We should milk that. Like, we should hit up Spirit Halloween and be like, listen, we just found this. Have you heard of the Flannel Man? Yeah, it's just, you just got to go to your local Goodwill or Plato's Closet. Just round up a bunch of plaid shirts. Well, I guess they have to be kind of red. Yeah. They got to be red. And then we just start packaging. It was kind of like that meme that was going around, right? Where it's like, it was like the spirit Halloween. Like we did the one where it's just white jeans and we said it's the Fresno Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
If it was open-ended, whether or not this was real, I already had this in my head. If this was open-ended, whether or not it was real in general, I was going to say multiple entities, viable. One entity, skeptical. So since it's based on one entity, that's how you want to rank it. I'm going to go skeptical. The red shirt is really making it not unbelievable. If it was a bunch of different colors or like every story had a different characteristic, it just feels like so. And also like none of those I guess I like how like on Reddit they're like I'm 18 years old, but they're not like I live here. Like could all these stories have been Minnesota? I know you're in on the UK with the garden thing, but like
I don't know.
They say it's starting in Minnesota. How do they know? There's no like this is the story that started the Flannel Man legend. There is none of that. So how do they know it came from Minnesota? I feel like they just picked a place where they're up north and they're cutting trees down. It feels very random. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not grounded
There's no ground
anywhere.
In there.
No, it was one town.
Yeah,
it's 100 people in the smallest town in Minnesota. They're like, we want to be known for something, and it's funny because the city's not even a part of the legend.
That's
By
right.
City, I mean town, square.
I said like 30%. I'm going to join you with skeptical. I don't think it's one entity really. I like the idea that it's Fae, but I don't think it is.
Maybe when we do our Halloween episode, I'll wear flannel and we'll find ourselves a nice mask. You know, I bet I could probably, with how popular Barbie is, maybe I could find myself a nice Ryan Gosling mask.
You probably could. I'll wear Fairy Wings.
I already talked about football because I brought up Kirk Cousins, but I just throw this out there. Hit us up. Do y'all think that Ryan Gosling looks like Jared Goff? I'm just gonna, I had to show Charlie.
He does. I think he does. So we're both on skeptical. Thank you for listening to this episode on the Flannel Man. Henry Zabrowski actually told me about this.
He told you about this?
Personally, no.
He hit DM.
He mentioned this in an episode that he heard about on this podcast called Strange Familiars. It's I don't know. That's where it kind of took off for me a while ago. Like I heard about it a while ago, and it's kind of something that stuck with me. So it was in there.
Yeah, I really like flannel shirts. I was kind of joking about Old Navy, but also like I don't need any more. I have quite a few, but it really is like, I don't know about you. I guess you were here earlier today.
I was
outside. I finally got to see Starlink, which was amazing. An awesome opportunity. Tonight felt like fall.
Yeah.
I was outside, you know, it was a clear night. There's a lot of people in hoodies and stuff. I'm in a hoodie.
I was driving in the weather. It's just really nice. Nice Ohio fall. It's going to last for about 3 weeks.
Yeah, until winter.
Yeah.
But, well, it's still technically summer. It was 75 today. I was sweating walking to get coffee. But flannel shirts make me think of fall. I love fall. Fall is such an amazing time. I don't know about you, but did you ever associate fall with like, well, this is a dumb question because yes, but until you graduate, fall is associated with school.
Back to school.
And fall is still amazing even during school. And there's going to be people that tell you, enjoy school while you can because there's no summer vacation when you get older and you get a job and then your life's over. It's not true unless you hate your job. But I remember my very first fall when I went out of school. Do you? Do you remember the first fall? August hits and you're like, I don't have to go to school.
No, I don't remember.
I was 26. But I just remember that feeling where it's like basketball, football, the temperature change, doing those type of like fall events. And it's just like, so it's school. Like I had work, obviously, but I remember that being like a highlight moment where it's just kind of like, it's not signaling this cycle anymore.
And this Flannel Man also goes with that too, because it is that fall attire, that flannel, wear something warm.
And if you'd like to wear something warm, ooh, here's a transition.
Good one. Nice.
We do have merch. We do have some merch. And in that merch, we have, I guess, two things of value to you during this changing season time. It is still summer. But we do have hoodies. We got a couple different hoodies. We have our neon logo hoodie. We got I believe we have the Sasquatch hoodie. And we have the believability scale hoodie.
Yeah.
If you want to, it's highly believable though. So you got to go full 100%.
You got to believe it.
You got to be into it.
You got to full send believable.
Nothing less for a hoodie. Could you imagine walking around with a skeptical hoodie? They're just like, what are you skeptical of? Like everything. Faye.
They're going to come for you.
What are they going to offer me? They're going to be like, a brown Super Bowl. I'm like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I don't care.
And then you owe them.
We also have a beanie hat. We got a black beanie that's got our UFO logo on it. So if you want to start preparing,
BTB'd out for the fall.
Or, I'm sure that they make great Christmas presents. It's never too early to be thinking about Christmas presents. I have a couple people done.
Wow, I don't.
Nothing wrong with that. Because you don't want to do it too early because then you rob yourself of the holiday shopping. I've done that before.
Holiday rush?
Yeah, there's something special about that.
Yeah.
But all of that, if you go to our website, believeinthebazaar.com, go to shop merch, you can go through it. We actually have a couple new designs dropping shortly.
And if you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to tell us, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave a 5-star and a review. Say something like, oh man, that's great. Or Tyler, stop talking about football. Whatever you want to say, it's fine.
I have to match your level of fae with football, even though one of them is clearly way more relevant than the other one.
Or whatever. Or if you want to go to Spotify and review the episode, please do that. We always love seeing those. They make us feel good.
And if you're all caught up on the podcast and you want to listen to a little bit more, like we said before, we do have Patreon. I'm going to fly through this. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Here's stuff that you can get if you join our Patreon. Ringtone shout-outs, ad-free episodes, because they're annoying at the beginning, the middle, and the end. Phone wallpapers, quizzes, bizarre news, horror movie review, voicemail clips, interviews from listener submissions. Do you believe the bizarre? Beyond the bizarre. Social media response questions, where every Monday we put out a question, you respond to it, and we comment to your responses. Director's Cut, Netflix watch parties, Google Hangout, Patreon exclusive shirt giveaways. Don't tell Patreon though. Exclusive Discord, mailbag Q&A, Remembering the Bizarre, where producer Ben quizzes us on our own damn episodes. Patreon hoodie, enamel pin yearly. Like we said, after December, this design is gone. BTB reacts to biannual theatrical readings, virtual game night that's coming up in October. And that's it. So I don't know if it's worth it.
Oh, is that it?
I don't know if it's worth it.
I don't know.
But if you're interested, that is all on Patreon waiting for you should you be caught up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of time between this Tuesday and next Tuesday.
That's true. You're not going to finish Patreon that time.
And your football team's probably already out. So what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
But thank you everybody so much for listening to this episode. And we appreciate you listening to the podcast in general. As always, I'm Tyler.
And I'm Charlie.
And catch us next week on Believing the Bizarre.
A podcast as bizarre as you are.